Well, hello and welcome to a new video where we are going to test the power efficiency of the AMD Radeon RX 6900 XT. And at first, we're gonna use this card here in Shadow of the Tomb Raider in the benchmark, because obviously that's a benchmark is the only way where we can one-to-one compare how well the performance is going to hold up when we set different performance or power draw levels of this card. And right now we have it overclocked, so we have the max performance which this card should be capable of using, and we're just using the absolute max settings here, but without any ray tracing. And yeah, let's go ahead and start the benchmark here. And after using it with the around 300 to 330 watts marks, which is like the max wattage which the card should be allowed to use if it's being able to when it comes to the temperatures in this mode, then yeah, we're gonna compare it afterwards to just, I think it's around the 120 watts, which it's supposed to zip with the undervolting and obviously underclocking a little bit. So let's see how much performance impact that's going to have. And yeah, I'm very curious to find out, because I do believe that it's pretty much similar performance, like 5 to 10% difference. And that comes at a cost of 3 times or 2 to 3 times more power usage. So obviously this card is very, very power efficient at lower power levels. And you get to the point of diminishing returns after the 250 watts and going up to the 300, 330 watts. So yeah, I'm really curious to find out how much that's going to impact our performance, and we're gonna compare the results of the Shadow of the Tomb Raider benchmarks in a sec. So let's just run it for the first time here. Remember, this is now with the overclock profile, so for 330 watts is what it should be able to zip at max. And when this benchmark run is done, we are going to turn it down to the undervolt benchmark or the undervolt profile and see just how much worse our performance gets. I mean, you can see that our graphics card is clocking at 2.6 gigahertz core speeds and 2.1 gigahertz of the memory speed here, which is very high, and which is around 600 megahertz in the core, higher than what we will see with the undervolt profile. So yeah, obviously that should definitely deliver us some noticeable better performance. But I'm once again just curious to see how much better it actually is. Because you can also see that we're at 100% or 100 degrees rather peak temperature here for the card. Obviously 87 degrees is just fine, even though it is pretty hot for a GPU, but it is still in the area where it's definitely still fine and safe to operate for a longer time period. So there's no problem here. And we also do have the Ryzen 7 5800X3D as well as 64 gigabytes of system memory here. So obviously it should in any case just be GPU dependent how much FPS or how many FPS we will see in this game. At least that's the optimal settings. We will see in the result page just how many times or how much percentage of the benchmark run we were actually in the GPU limit. But as you can see from the MSI Afterburner overlay, we are basically at 97 to 99% usage most of the time here. And one thing you can definitely hear and definitely see on the screen is that the fans of this GPU, which is by the way the Red Devil Ultimate, which does have the 6900 XTX-H chip, so the chip where you actually can go ahead and set this 330 watts power limit, which is not something you are able to on the normal 6900 XT. You can see that the fans of this graphics card are ramping up quite a lot, and I think that's something that I've obviously set myself for this overclocking profile, due to the fact that I really wanted it to be as cool as possible while at the same time delivering the best performance as possible. And compare this to the undervolt and underclocking profile, and you will see that we basically have a silent system then. And yeah, we are 100% GPU bound here, as you can see. And what we're getting is 1600, 251 pictures rendered and around 140 FPS on average. So you can just pause it here and look up when we are done with the next benchmark, which is my undervolt setting here, which you will be able to see here, which doesn't really require the fans to ramp up anything here. And yeah, so this is the max frequency I was able to get it stable to, and at the same time it should still deliver us good performance here. So let's go ahead and rerun the benchmark here and see just how much of a performance difference you will see. And really remember, you just saw the card to go up to, obviously not all the time, but it was around the 300 watts most of the time. And now we're at 137 watts, 140 watts. I really can't say, I mean, obviously I don't have a strict wattage limit here in place for this card. So obviously it will differ from situation to situation, just how much it will actually draw. But this is usually my daily profile which I use, because obviously you can see the fans are at 1000 RPM and that is basically inaudible. So if you're playing something like Apex Legends, you will draw around 100 watts at max with this card and still get 180 FPS all the time. So that's obviously perfect. At least at 1440p, which is what I'm playing at. And yeah, I think it's interesting. Yeah, we are still sticking to at least below 150 watts here, and obviously also our temperatures are much better, or way better than and way lower than what we've seen before, like 30 degrees less. And at the same time, we don't need to use our fans, like basically at all. And if I were to repaste this GPU, which simply has been running for 2 years now without any thermal paste reapplyment, I think that is way overdue for this system here, and I will definitely have to do that in the near future. But yeah, if you are using this silent and undervolted profile here, then you can definitely play even with very low temperatures and basically no fan noise at all. I mean, I really don't know if I stop talking here for a sec, and I don't know if you actually were able to hear how loud the system was before. But if I stop talking now, you can definitely hear that you don't hear any fans. Like it's just awesome, just how silent. Like it's literally just like a water cooled system now, where you don't have any fan noise at all here. And yeah, I'm just really glad that the GPU performance usually is very good as well here. As I said, I think it's around 10% at max less than what you're seeing with the overclock profile. So in my opinion, not really worth to draw that much power for not that much of a performance gain. But we will see that in the end card here, where we'll see all the stats of the benchmark and where you can compare them to the first benchmark run. I will just use the numbers that I have stored in my memory right now and compare them. So let's see how this turns out. All right, and we're all done. And I think it was 104 pictures or frames per second in the first benchmark run, and around something like 1600 pictures rendered. So a little bit less than that. And yeah, it's definitely more than 10% performance difference here. It's 84 versus 104 pictures here, so frames per second here. So when the GPU is really stressed out, obviously you can see that there is a little bit more of a difference than what I've expected actually. But yeah, I mean, this comes definitely at the cost of more than twice the power consumption that we have been seeing here. And I don't know if these, 15 to 20% more performance is actually worth the extra 150 watts and more, which you would have to spend to get there. But Either way, it's definitely nice to see that you will get very nice performance with a very silent system, or even better performance when you just let it run completely wild.